Witam w 9. odcinku z serii Zagrajmy w Kingdom Come Deliverance. Ja między odcinkami pozabierałem swoje rzeczy, przeniosłem je tutaj do młyna w Ratajach. I w tym odcinku, tak jak mówiłem poprzednio, że zajmiemy się jakimiś zadaniami pobocznymi, ale myślę, że zabierzemy się za dodatek DLC. Zaraz wam pokażę coś. Na przykład taka ikonka na mapie pokazuje nam właśnie zadania z DLC. Tutaj mamy jeszcze jedno. Musimy podejść do tego punktu. W tym przypadku jest to, aby rozpocząć te DLC, musimy podejść do Teresy i porozmawiać z nią. Więc zróbmy to.
Henry, I'm so glad to see you.
Zapytajmy się przede wszystkim o psa.
What's that dog you have here? He looks familiar.
Don't you remember him? It's Mart, the butcher's dog from Skalitz.
Ah, of course. When I went back to bury my parents, he was guarding his master's dead body. Faithful dog. How come he's here?
When we carted you here, we took Mutt along too. He's been hanging around the mill ever since.
Tak, ostatni raz widzieliśmy Orzecha w Skalicy. Pilnował swojego pana, czyli rzeźnika.
How's he doing?
A lot better now. I slipped him something good now and again when Uncle wasn't looking.
He won't starve to death then?
Na pewno. A spytajmy się o to, jak z nim jest. Czy się słucha? Czy jest posłuszny?
Not much. He's got a mind of his own, and I'm just not strict enough.
Ah, spoiled then.
No, he just hasn't learned many commands. But he's well able to beg for a piece of meat.
A co myśli o nim
What does
Peszek?
the miller have to say about it?
He can't stand him.
How's that?
Every time he sees him, he starts shouting that he's a useless mouth to feed and that he'll skin him.
Jesus.
And it didn't even soften his heart when Mutt brought a hare from the woods. He was happy to eat it, but it didn't change his mind.
I could have a word with him.
That would be a waste of time.
How long has he been with you?
More or less since we came here. He runs off now and again, but he always comes back. Sometimes I don't see him all day. I think he likes to go wandering.
So he's doing quite well then?
Yeah. I'd keep him, but he reminds me too much of Tinker. You know, I don't want to think about Skalitz. So, I thought maybe you might take him with you?
Me?
I'm sure the two of you would get on great. He's a handsome fella and lovable. I'd be very happy if you had him.
But we never had a dog at the smithy. We never needed one.
Come on. He's got no one.
Weźmiemy go. To jest...
All right. I'll take him. He could keep me company on my travels.
Thanks, Henry. Go and get him then. He's sniffing around somewhere here.
Tak, to jest właśnie nowość wprowadzona w tym dodatku. Mamy do dyspozycji psa, czyli kolejnego kompana. Jednym z kompanów jest koń, a drugim z kompanów jest pies. Tylko wiecie co, ja sobie na pewno zdejmę ten czepiec i ten kaptur kolczy, bo śmiesznie to wygląda podczas rozmów. I teraz tak, po psa pójdziemy później. On może nam pomóc w polowaniu, w walce z przeciwnikiem, odciąga przeciwników, więc akurat jest dość dobrym kompanem, aczkolwiek czasami można się zirytować przy polowaniu, gdy podchodzi zbyt blisko zwierzyny i ją płoszy. Dobrze, porozmawiajmy jeszcze raz z Teresą. Zapytajmy się o to, jak udało jej się przeżyć, ale my już to wiemy.
What actually happened to you? in
Uratowaliśmy ją.
Skalitz? I mean, during the attack. Well, you know.
That's a long story. Not a very cheerful one. Are you sure you want to hear it now?
Tak,
I
chcemy.
do.
All right then. It was a day like any other. Another ordinary day in my ordinary life. awoke at first light, before the others. I like those kind of mornings best. When the first rays of sunshine quickly drive away the nighttime cold. And the breeze carries the scent of dew-covered grass and the bloom of spring. I wanted to get my chores done before the rest of the household was up. And this morning seemed made for that very purpose. Right,
Dobrze.
better get to work. I have to feed the hens, weed the garden, feed Tinka. I'd better get it all done before Papa is up.
Teraz tak,
I
pozbieramy
must bring Tinka
sobie...
a piece of meat. That'll be a nice treat.
Zbieramy sobie przede wszystkim jedzenie dla nas, abyśmy w przyszłości nie zgłodnieli. Tutaj zbierzemy te jabłka, chyba jeszcze możemy zebrać to. Mam rację, tak. Tutaj jest jedzenie dla psa. Zbierzemy kawałki mięsa, bądź mięsa, jak to woli. Tu już wszystko jest. Jeszcze idziemy po worek z ziarnem dla kur. Ok, tu wszystko jest już zebrane. Teraz musimy wykonać codzienne obowiązki Teresy. A gdzie jest pies? No, póki co go nie widzę, więc może nakarmmy kury.
Here, checky. Here you are, girls. Fill your beaks.
Tak, początek tego DLC przypomina mi bardzo moje młodsze lata, kiedyś rodzina mojego ojca, o jest pies, rodzina mojego ojca, od strony ojca, chodź porozmawiajmy, biesie, i dajmy ci jedzenie, nakarmię cię, już się chyba cieszy. Tak, i wracając do tematu, rodzina od strony mojego ojca posiadała posiadłość taką we wsi, takiej typowej wsi w Polsce, 5 rodzin na krzyż i właśnie dość pozytywnie zapamiętałem tamten okres w swoim życiu. Pamiętam, jak wyglądały żniwa, wykopki. Pracy było dość dużo, ale to była przyjemna praca. Raczej zaliczyłbym ją do tych przyjemnych prac. Też czasami chodziliśmy na ryby. Ja co prawda zbyt cierpliwą osobą nie jestem, za to miałem jednego kolegę z tej wsi i powiem wam, że raczej łowienie ryb to był sposób właśnie na odpoczynek, na rozmowę, aniżeli samo łowienie. Właśnie, ten pies czasami wchodzi przed nami i przez to nie możemy wypełnić akcji, które chcielibyśmy, bo przychodzimy w rozmowę z nim. Gdzie tu jeszcze jest chwast? Tak, to się jeszcze zalicza do to, co robimy, do zielarstwa, takiej umiejętności. Te chwasty akurat nam się nie przydadzą, ale niektóre rośliny możemy zbierać później na stole alchemicznym, przerabiać je na mikstury, na przykład lecznicze, bądź właśnie zbawienny sznaps, który odpowiada tutaj za funkcję zapisu. Dobrze, porozmawiajmy z naszym ojcem, tylko czekajcie chwilę, bo muszę coś sprawdzić. Okej. Jestem już. Dobrze, porozmawiajmy z naszym ojcem. I spytajmy się o to, czy jeszcze nie moglibyśmy czegoś dla niego zrobić.
Go up and see the blacksmith. He made some nails for me. Here's some coin.
All right. Anything else while I'm at it?
No, unless you want to stop off at the market and buy some supplies. And before you go, wake Samuel. The boy's still lying in bed and won't stir. You ought to follow your example and Steebor's. You two don't have to be pushed to work. Well, at least he's still better than that good-for-nothing Spishek, the lazy wretch. A helper like that isn't worth a damn. If it weren't for his father, God rest his soul, I'd have thrown him out on his ear long ago.
Też tak myślę.
Aye, he's an idler, that one. And he'd hardly give you the time of day, never mind a kind word.
God will reward him in kind one day. Mark my words. You could tell him to get his ass to work too.
Right, go for nails, send Samuel and Zabishek to work. If it's at all possible.
Aye, just so. Oh, and Teresa, once you've done all your chores for the day, I've a little surprise for you.
Raczej nie będziemy używać charyzmy. On i tak nie uda nam się go przekonać.
Really? Now you've got me curious, Pa. I'll be on my way then.
Wchodzimy na samą górę i budzimy swojego brata, bo jest dość leniwy, powinien już wstawać do pracy.
Sammy, get up. It's broad daylight and the birds are singing.
Yeah, I'm up.
Have a bite to eat before going to the mine.
All right, Ma. You don't have to treat me like a child. Looks like it'll be nice today, eh? I could go to the pond fishing.
But you have to go to work.
I know. But maybe I can slip off after lunch.
There'll be no slipping off. You know very well Namoy has been complaining about you.
What about dropping that pail on Tonda's head? It was an accident.
Not the first accident you've had though, was it?
There you go then. If I leave early, nothing will happen to anyone. And you can cook the fish for lunch tomorrow.
You silly sod. All you ever do at the pond is lie around. The only thing you'll catch is more trouble from the mine master when he finds out. Well, if you're not a child, you can sort it out yourself with Namoy.
Don't I always?
Dobrze, obudziliśmy brata. Widać, że nie przepada za swoją pracą i raczej wolałby się wymigać od obowiązków, które na niego dzisiaj czekają. Ale raczej lepiej dla niego byłoby, gdyby jednak poszedł popracować w tej kopalni, chociaż trochę. Porozmawiajmy ze Zbyszkiem i właśnie każmy mu iść do pracy.
Pa says you're idle, and if you carry on like that, he'll throw you out.
Why would he do that? Then he'd be left only with Stibor, and Stibor's not going to break his back working either.
No, trochę rozsądniej.
Listen, Zabishek. Pa's not happy with you, and if he says you're idling, you better make a bit of effort. I'm only telling you for your own good. You wouldn't want to lose your job now, would you?
You lot are always going on about work as if it was a blessing from heaven. All right. I'll get to work. Anything for a bit of peace.
That's more like it. You'll see it doesn't hurt.
Dobrze, czyli tą pierwszą część mamy tutaj ze sobą. Możemy przejść się do samej skalicy. Obudziliśmy naszego brata, jak i, no, jak się później okaże, niewdzięcznego Zbyszka i dosyć negatywną postać w tej grze. Ja za nim też nie przepadam. A coś się przed nami tutaj jeszcze dzieje. Podsłuchajmy trochę tej rozmowy.
You what? You shit grubber? Better to have shit in a stable than in your head. Those books of yours are of no use in the real world of ordinary people.
And indeed they have no place there. The only use you have for paper is to wipe your ass. Books belong in the hands of your betters. Only a pitchfork belongs in yours.
Tell me, what use is there in this day and age for such a
what?
such a know-it-all? All you're good for is sitting in a tavern with other know-it-alls, bemoaning your station. But devil a thing do you do about it. You can't do an honest job. You're of no use to life. Too delicate to stand the smell of manure.
While the likes of you sleep in it.
Dobra, koniec tego, panowie. Trzeba rozstrzygnąć spór.
What are you two quarreling about here, for the love of God?
This pipsqueak here claims studying is as hard a job as working in the stables.
I most certainly did not, because study is of course much harder work than mucking out a bit of horse manure.
See? That's what I'm talking about. And yet it's as clear as day.
Hang on. What's as clear as day?
That study is as hard as mucking out stables, if not harder.
A man who doesn't work with his hands is an idler, and a good for nothing. Am I wrong?
Wydaje mi się, że i nauka, i fizyczna praca są potrzebne, więc wybierzmy tą ostatnią
You're
odpowiedź.
both right, but not one of you has a grain of sense. Work is work, whether it's done with your hands or your heart.
Ah, rhetoric worthy of Socrates himself, and out of the mouth of a woman. I bow to you, good maiden. The professors of Prague could learn a thing or two from you.
Are you saying this good-for-nothing here, who has to beg for his beer at the tavern, is my equal? But to hell with him. I won't argue.
Good day, Teresa.
No, nie zgodzę się z tobą, panie stajenny. Leonardo da Vinci też musiał ruszyć trochę głową, aby jego praca wyglądała jak właśnie wygląda. Przejdźmy się dalej już w stronę Skalicy. Może tutaj jeszcze wrócimy, ale może później. Wolałbym przejść się do centrum. Tutaj już jest wejście do samej Skalicy. To jest taka retrospekcja. Akcja tego dodatku dzieje się na dzień przed samym najazdem Zygmunta. Co ciekawe, właśnie wcielamy się w Teresę, drugą grywalną postać. Pierwszą jest Henryk i to jest główna postać. To jest taka postać raczej poboczna. Porozmawiajmy z żoną Niemca.
God's blessings.
What's new in the village?
There's to be a dance this evening. Again? Can we not find some other way to enjoy ourselves for a change? Harvest festival, Pentecost festival, dances, church, and dances again.
What else would we do for fun?
I heard they have combat tournaments in Rattay sometimes. The men put on shining armor, and folk can watch them battering each other. That must be lovely to watch. Why can't we have something like that once in a while? After all, Sir Radzig is the royal headsman.
But for a tournament, you need knights. We don't have enough here in Skalitz.
Ah, but Sir Hanish's tourney in Rattay is even for commoners. Even our fellas could enroll there.
Oh my god, don't say that too loud. I can just imagine how my brothers would be tripping over each other to enroll.
They wouldn't be the only ones, would they? How about that Henry? He's always waving that wooden sword around like you'd think he was getting ready to go on crusade. But there's an interesting thought now. Which of our fellas do you think would win?
Tutaj ciekawą dostaniemy informację, jeżeli wybierzemy Henryka. Może nie informację, ale taki dosyć śmieszną.
Henry would win for sure.
Śmieszny
He's
dialog.
always practicing with that wooden sword, like you say. And besides, he's a blacksmith's son. They're always strong from hammering iron all day.
Do you think so? Don't say anything, but I think that Henry's a bit of a fool. He doesn't overwork himself at that forge.
Anyway, enough about tourneys. I must be on my way. Take care.
Dokładnie. Tutaj trochę żona tutaj Niemca to w dość śmieszny sposób przygarnęła naszemu Henrykowi. I teraz tak, tutaj mamy jeszcze kolejne osoby, z którymi możemy porozmawiać. Zwykli wieśniacy. Tu jest gracz, porozmawiajmy może z Korneliuszem.
God be with you.
Też zapytajmy się, co tu się dzieje,
How
co
are you
słychać.
getting on, neighbor?
What is it, Teresa? Did your father send you? Does he need me to count his groschen for him again?
What? Father wanted you to count groschen for him?
Yes, not long ago. Quite a pile he had too. I had to write it all down for him. I never knew the mill was that profitable.
That's interesting.
No, ciekawostka. Czyżby tutaj ojciec Teresy był takiego samego rodzaju młynarzem jak pan Peszek? Możemy jeszcze porozmawiać z Czekanem. Ja raczej będę chciał wam pokazać wszystkie te rozmowy,
How
bo
are things with you, Pigman?
można dowiedzieć się ciekawych informacji.
I thought only the fellas at the mine called me that.
Oh, sorry. Samuel sometimes mentions you, and I suppose I got used to it. Does it bother you?
Ah, what's the difference? I'll never shake it anyway. Pickman the idiot who chopped off 2 of his toes with a pick.
O, zapytajmy się właśnie o tą sytuację.
That's awful. People are always getting hurt in the mines. How did it happen exactly?
Just not paying attention, I suppose. We were digging a tunnel and I simply hit my foot with a pickaxe. It went through my boot like a hot knife through butter.
That must have hurt awfully.
It hurt like hell. Now I have to stuff the tip of my boot with straw or I can't walk straight.
Dobrze, ale czas już na nas. Przykro mi.
Be careful now, all right?
Yeah.
Przykro mi z powodu tego wypadku, drogi czekanie, ale czas nagli. Teraz porozmawiamy z Marusią jeszcze.
Any news, Maruna?
Well, there's a peculiar fellow standing by the potters on the outskirts, selling strange trinkets, relics and the like, and he's got a peculiar talk to go with it.
Peculiar in what way?
Well, I went to see what he was selling and greeted him politely, and he started on about how I'm a pretty girl and what have you.
What's so strange about that? Fellas are always talking to girls that way if they don't wear a wife's scarf.
Ah, but that's not all. He started on about how we're different from one another, men and women like, and in a vulgar way too.
Dobrze, może...
I'd rather not say anything on the subject. Take care of yourself, Maruna.
Może przejdźmy już do rzeczy bardziej. Tutaj mamy handlarzy. Mam jeszcze Jarmiłę, porozmawiajmy z Jarmiłą.
God's blessings.
What's new in the village, Yarmila?
Did you happen to meet that scholar who's been wandering around here since yesterday? He told me a wonderful story from olden times when Princess Libusa ruled. You've heard about Libusa, haven't you?
Ja o niej nie słyszałem.
No, I don't know her. Who was she?
Really? I thought everyone knew that story. She was a princess of bygone days who married a plowman, and he later became king. But she was a seer too, and she had all sorts of visions. And she founded Prague.
That's interesting. What did the scholar tell you about her?
About the Maiden's War. Would you like to hear it?
No niech nam opowie.
Maiden's War. That sounds like a good story. Tell me about it.
Girls were different back then. In pagan times, they could live... How did he put it? Free of the yoke of marriage. They bore arms like men and waged war. And they chose their own leader. And they even dressed like men. Can you believe it?
What happened to them?
He said they were so bold that they even built their own fortress, where no man was allowed.
They really did that themselves?
Oh, aye. And when the menfolk found out, they were envious. They came together in great numbers and built their own fortress in sight of the Maiden's One.
What? Men and women lived separately in their own castles?
They did, and they waged war on each other. The men were braver, but the women often outsmarted them.
Naturally. How did it end up?
In the end, they agreed on a truce. To celebrate peace, they feasted for 3 days, and each man took away one bride.
Oh. I was expecting it to end... differently.
I'd be happier too if the women won and could grab any husband they wanted.
A pretty picture indeed. Thanks for the story. It was quite inspiring. I must be going. Our fortress is still ruled by men, and they haven't learned to clean up after themselves.
Tak, ciekawa historia. Legenda. No, Czesi mają swoje legendy, a my swoje, prawda? Na przykład z Szewczykiem Dratewką. Tak, mieliśmy pójść po te gwoździe, a jeszcze może porozmawiajmy z tym wieśniakiem, który przerzuca tą słomę.
That's really quite a pile of hay you have.
You're telling me there's no end to the stuff.
Is there anything I can do to help?
I ain't the youngest, truth be told, but I can still handle one cartload of hay.
I hope so. It's just that it seems like there's no end to it at all.
Indeed. I'd rather see it all burn to ashes than keep breaking my back here for all eternity.
Uważaj, czego sobie życzysz, panie wieśniaku, bo może się to ziścić. Szczególnie, że wiemy, co się później stało ze Skalicą.
No sign of the blacksmith. Where can he be?
Pójdźmy tutaj może pod posesję Henryka. O, mamy matkę Henryka.
Good morning.
No właśnie, opowiedzmy o tych naszych sprawach,
Father sent me to pick up nails, but there's no one at the forge.
które mamy do
Sorry,
załatwienia.
lass. Martin had to go to the castle to talk to Sir Radzig. He's to forge a sword for his lordship.
Oh, I see. And has he made the nails for Pa?
I'm afraid he hasn't had time on account of that sword. But if you'll come tomorrow, he'll surely have them for you. I'll remind him this evening.
All right, I'll stop by tomorrow.
Do that, dear. Oh, and by the way, the girls were looking for you.
Which girls?
Bianca and Johanka. You should stop by and see them before you go home. You girls must be plotting something.
What was it about?
They didn't say, but it seemed important. Which probably means boys, I suppose, eh?
There's no harm in that, is there, good wife? You were young yourself once and went dancing with boys.
Oh, so I'm an old woman now, am I?
No, I didn't mean it like that.
I'm only teasing you, girl. Dancing is just what you young ones should be doing. Make the most of it while you can. Before you know it, your pa will find you a husband. And you'll have a pack of children to take care of.
Let's hope it's not too soon. Thanks for letting me know. I'll stop by tomorrow for those nails then.
Not at all. Oh, and another thing, Teresa. Have you seen Henry around anywhere? If he helped his father out more at the forge, there'd be no shortage of nails.
I haven't seen him at all.
No doubt he's at that swordplay with that so-called combat master again. If he could wield a hammer half as good as a wooden sword, there'd be no shortage of nails.
Dobrze. Dowiedzieliśmy się, że Marcin, czyli ojciec Henryka, nie ma dosyć czasu, bo wykuwa miecz dla pana Radzika, miecz, który my później straciliśmy. Dodatkowo jeszcze matka Henryka opowiedziała nam o tym, że szuka nas Johanka i Bianka. Może pójdźmy do samej Bianki. Tutaj jeszcze sprawdzę, czy przypadkiem kogoś nie ma. Tu jest jeszcze jakaś... O, to jest zwykła wieśniaczka. Dobrze. Myślę, że zanim porozmawiamy z Bianką, to porozmawiajmy sobie może jeszcze z Niemcem.
How are you?
What news, neighbor?
News? Have you not heard, girl? The Empire is falling asunder under the hands of the king.
How do you mean?
King Sigismund of Hungary besieged Kuttenberg, and quite rightly too, in my opinion, because King Wenceslaus' rule is no rule at all. I am not the only one who would rather see his brother Sigismund on the throne.
Ale Wacław jest naszym królem,
Wenceslas is still our
więc...
rightful king. We can't just change our loyalty to someone else.
But who is to bring order if the king cannot do it?
Good man, Deutsch. You ought to watch what you say. Sir Radzig is the king's hetman, and he could take you to task for such seditious talk. Good day to you.
Niemiec jak zwykle jest stronnikiem króla Zygmunta, aczkolwiek w chwili, gdy Skalicjanie potrzebowali pomocy, gdy Zygmunt najechał sam zamek, samą miejscowość, no to potrafił jednak stanąć w obronie. Porozmawiajmy z Aleksem.
Greetings.
What news, neighbor?
Have you heard that King Wenceslas's half-brother Sigismund and his foreign soldiers sacked Kuttenberg? I expect he wanted to loot his brother's silver to pay for his campaign against his allies. That horde of Tartars and mercenaries he has doesn't come cheap.
No właśnie, czemu Zygmunt zaatakował Kutną Horę?
He wants to depose him, that's why. He and those foreign lords of his think Wenceslas isn't paying enough attention to the problems of the Empire. Well, that's easy to say, but if you ask me, the whole world is going to hell. Not even the church is able to stick together, and now we have 2 popes? How is a person supposed to know what to believe in anymore?
Miejmy nadzieję, że to się niedługo skończy.
It's starting to stink like a few years ago. You were still a little girl then, so you wouldn't know, but Wenceslas had to yield to his own lords. Jobst of Moravia and his League of Lords even abducted Wenceslas and locked him up in Austria. Wenceslas's younger brother John and his cousin, Prokop of Moravia, got him released in the end.
Well, at least some of his family remained loyal to him.
Well, yes. Only John and Prokop had to make some concessions to the lords in Prague that the king didn't agree with, so they fell out with him in the end anyway. I don't reckon they'll be willing to come to his aid again.
A zapytajmy się też o bitwę.
I heard something about it. Were many people killed?
No. Those cowardly burghers surrendered to Sigismund without a fight and begged him for their lives on their knees in the mud.
The more I hear about politics, the less sense it makes. I must get back to work.
Czyli nawet rodzina króla Wacława obróciła się przeciwko niemu. Ta dalsza rodzina, nie mam na myśli już nawet samego króla Zygmunta. Porozmawiajmy z Bianką.
Bianca, how come you're up so bright and early?
Papa has me running around from dawn till dusk. You know how it is.
Indeed I do.
I'm glad you're here, Tess. You've got to help me with something. But first, can you go and see Henry for me? He's at the sheepfold by the stockade, as usual.
Oh? Playing around with wooden swords again?
Aye. He's getting ready for the life of a mighty warrior.
Well, at least we know he'll be able to protect you from outlaws with wooden swords.
Oh well, boys and their games. Listen, would you bring him a beer for me?
But why don't you bring it yourself?
If Pa saw me running after Henry, he'd tan my hide. But I can't leave him dry in this heat.
All right, I'll bring the beer to him.
Thanks. And don't forget to tell him it's from me.
Everyone knows all the beer in Skalitz is from you and your pa.
You know what I mean. And listen, Tess. Once you've given him the beer, come back to me again. Meanwhile, I'll make an excuse to Pa. I need you to go somewhere with me, but I'll tell you all about it after. Run along before the beer gets warm.
Mamy piwo dla Henryka. I jak widać, sam Henryk właśnie to jeszcze przed samym rozpoczęciem głównej fabuły chciał się nauczyć trochę walczyć mieczem. Nie podobało to się wszystkim, szczególnie rodzinie, no ale tak jak też widać wybrance samego Henryka.
God be with you, Henry. Mind you don't get hurt.
Good day, Teresa.
Porozmawiajmy ze sobą, można byłoby tak powiedzieć. Tak, masz piwo.
I'd say you need it after a hard battle.
Ah, great. It's as hot as Pa's Forge out here today. That's very sweet of you to get me a beer.
Powiedzmy prawdę.
Actually, Bianca sent it. Her pa doesn't want her to come here.
Ah, I see. I'll make it up to her this evening.
I don't want to know how. How come you're training on your own today? You're usually here with that vagabond. What's his name?
Vanyek. And he's not a vagabond. He's a wayfaring combat master.
Well, it looks like he's off wayfaring somewhere else today.
Yeah. More likely sleeping off last night's boozing. Actually, since I've no opponent today, wouldn't you like to have a go? I mean, a bit of swordplay. I could teach you.
Me? Swordplay?
Sure. Why not?
Myślę, że może nam się to nawet w przyszłości przydać, więc przyjmiemy wyzwanie.
But I must warn you, I can swat a mouse with a broom with my eyes closed.
Yeah, I knew you had the heart of a warrior. Let's go then.
Wyjmujemy miecz.
Come on then. Show me what you're made of. Whoever is the first to hit the other 10 times is the victor.
What if I hurt you though?
Ah, don't worry. I can handle it.
Walczymy. Dobra, dostał. Ta walka jest dosyć ciężka, bo nie mamy odblokowanych umiejętności. i raczej nie będziemy mieli do końca trwania tej części dodatku. Więc możemy posługiwać się tylko podstawowymi umiejętnościami bloku. Spróbujemy wykonać zwód. Dobra, cios za cios. Henryk raczej dobrze się broni i ciężko będzie go pokonać. Jakąś serię może wyprowadzimy. O, dostaliśmy. No, Henryk, nieładnie tak bić kobietę. Ale w sumie sami się na to zgodziliśmy. Broń się, Teresa. Śmiesznie to wygląda. Widzisz Teresę, która posługuje się mieczem. I z lewej. No, broni się dosyć dobrze. Chyba nam... Ale nie, ta walka powinna się za chwilę skończyć. Jeszcze z góry. No, wszystkie ciosy blokuje. Przestań blokować, Henryk. Może inaczej. O! Udało nam się trafić. Ja poczekam, aż on spróbuje uderzyć. Albo może sami zacznijmy. No, dawaj. Cios za cios. Kolejny cios za cios. Jeszcze raz, dawaj, Henryk. Aj, broni się. O. Weszliśmy w klincz. A spróbuję... A, ciężko wyjść z tego klinczu.
Don't go easy on me.
Ah, very good.
Henry, really? That is hardly chivalrous behavior. Now, I shall have to fight for my honor. Take that, you scoundrel! Are you alright?
Nothing, I'm fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Are you mad at me?
No, of course not. It's my own stupid fault.
Well, that'll teach you to go around slapping decent, God-fearing girls on the backside. Let me have a look at it.
No, it's only a scratch and a couple of splinters. And I didn't mean to... You know.
Show me that.
No, really, it's nothing.
You know how it is, Hal? He who lives by the sword
Dies by the splinter, eh?
There now. By the way, you owe Bianca for that beer.
Dowiedzieliśmy się, skąd wzięły się u Henryka te bandaże na prawej ręce. Cóż, odcinek już trwa ponad 30 minut, więc myślę, że zakończymy sobie tutaj ten materiał. Mam nadzieję, że Wam się podobało. Możemy, bo ten dodatek się jeszcze nie skończył, zobaczyć właśnie Skalicę po raz kolejny przed najazdem Zygmunta. Tak więc, tak jak powiedziałem wcześniej, mam nadzieję, że Wam się podobało. Jeżeli możecie, to skomentujcie, zalajkujcie. A tymczasem trzymajcie się. Pa!